always hung out with the girls. Always hung out with the girls. Always hung out with the girls. The girls, they accepted me.
I'll send it to you.
Hi, and welcome to The Fluid Voice. I am Ozma In The Dark, utilizing she-they pronouns for getting rid of the Supreme Court, apparently. I am wearing a Ghostbustery t-shirt, and there's posters in the background. And I am here, as usual, with Christy. How are you doing, Christy?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing better. I've been off for a bit, but I'm still being played by 50 squirrels in a trench coat, and but I am wearing a Joe Cool T-shirt. So
Okay.
So you know, since I was a
Perfect. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, he, him pronouns, and still rocking the sporty blue feathers.
Yeah. And we are here with two guests, Astra and Erin. You guys can introduce yourselves in whatever order you feel comfortable with.
Well, ladies first, and no one ever accused me of being a lady. So, Erin, how about you?
My name is Erin. I have a show called The Geriatric Grouch, and the only reason I mention that is because I do not do civil discourse, at least on my show, you know. So I don't have a problem tempering my verbiage with other people, you know, according to their dictates if I'm on someone else's show, but I don't do it on mine. And I have a gaming channel, and I work at Big Blue Box Mart, and you know, I'm a boomer, and I have 9 grandkids, and I'm mouthy.
Hi there. I'm Astra. You can catch me over at Bad Astra, where we talk about science with more costume changes than math. Right now, I am dressed for Pride because apparently I don't look gay enough, so I'm just decided to go for it. I got my eyeshadow. I have a pride flag, which was stolen from a church during a burlesque show, and some fabulous shoes, which you can't see right now.
Oh,
but I stole those from my wife.
No, they can see them.
Those were awesome.
Thank you. I'm very proud of these shoes. They're also not my shoes. I stole them from my wife, but she's in Italy, so what is she going to do about it? I
Eat some spaghetti.
Yeah, she's been sending me food pictures and making me jealous for a week. Anyway, I am usually very focused on education. So if you come to my show, there will be swearing, but it'll be a lot of, hey, let's spend 90 minutes learning about science before we get to any social commentary. But this isn't my show, so we can dive right in. Okay, I talked about my outfit, what my show is.
Pronouns?
What?
Pronouns?
Oh, yeah, she, her.
There you go.
Key question, what's your favorite ice cream?
Coffee ice cream, no contest.
That's acceptable.
It's the correct answer. I will fight anyone who says otherwise.
Strawberry cheese. But anyway.
So today we are talking about the Supreme Court ruling, because how could we not, and the various stuff related to it, just everything. I have tons and tons of opinions about that, but like I figured, you know, one of you can always type in. Let's go clockwise. Christy, just initial thoughts, and how much time has it been? I'm waiting for the
Oh, it's still probably about another 3 minutes, I think.
Yeah, I
to make
mean, I grant you, well, I suppose Perfict is least likely to curse, but the uh, my initial thoughts were, okay, wait, didn't they just do a thing where we have where guns have bodily autonomy the day before? So guns have more freedom than women? That's a thing.
Obviously, that's
just science, right?
yeah. That you need to go visit my channel because that's just science.
Those were my initial, and it's like expected but disappointing, much like my cooking.
Perfect. What were your initial thoughts? We'll just go over initial thoughts first before we dive into conversation because there's a lot to say.
Well, this is the thing that I want people to realize is that this is a big, splashy, eye-catching movement of the Christo-fascist movement, which has been fermenting within our government and taking occupation there for quite a while now. And they're coming for all of us. Everybody's involved. This is not just people with uteruses. That's just what the first thing is.
We'll talk about Thomas later.
Oh yeah. No. Yeah. No. Yeah. Astra, what were your initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts were, oh fuck, did I miss something at work? Or oh drat, did I miss something at work? Really hope I didn't mess up the time because my coworker actually called me to tell me. And then it was, I guess, just a gut punch, followed by an initial thought of abject horror when I read the summary of Thomas's concurring opinion. So yeah, confusion, relief that I hadn't messed up at work, pain, horror.
Erin, how about you? What were your initial thoughts?
First of all, that I have an analogy of sorts that I likened it to the Catholic Church when the Catholic Church rants against abortion and other, same-sex marriage, whatever. Okay, that it's a bunch of, I've seen this term used before that the priests are a bunch of hysterical men in dresses telling other people how to live their lives when they have no clue, which is pretty much what most of the Supreme Court is. I kind of consider them the high priests of the American judicial system. I won't call it the justice system because there is no justice. There's only just us.
I just got Justice Spices. What were you talking about?
And I want to burn it to the ground. That's my thought.
Yeah. So my first thoughts were effectively, since we're past the 6-minute mark, definitely, and past the 10-minute mark, technically. My first thoughts were, fuck. Just. And then a lot of burning hatred. I also wanted to burn things to the ground. That pretty much sums up my emotions, and some of my emotions were more drastic than that, and I didn't want to get this channel in trouble from YouTube. But
if we're allowed to advocate for arson, I have a very compelling case for burning the St. Louis Arch to the ground. Not all of St. Louis, I've been talked down, people live there. Specifically the Arch.
Yes, arson. There's more of a conversation. My mind went darker than arson. I guarantee you my mind went darker than arson. And especially I was upset because I knew it was coming. They had said they're going to do this. Like, what, 3 months ago?
There's a feeling of momentary emotional riot where you just have a pandemonium, flailing of arms in the air and want to scream.
Yeah, and then I was furious for 2 days, and then I changed the topic. So
I'm still pissed off.
Oh, I'm still pissed off too. I just can think clear enough to change the topic. So I meant the topic of the show. It was gonna be something else. It was, but so I guess might as well kick things off at sorry.
Well,
Just I was doing something. Someone I got whatever. I had to make sure a comment got showed.
Also, Natalie, who has freshly steeped tea. I'm about to join you. The water is boiling now. You inspired me. Thank you.
Tea?
Yeah, it's orange spice herbal tea.
Oh my God. Bigelow's. I put Bigelow's orange spice tea in my coffee.
Ooh.
Christy, you were gonna say something. It sounded like.
Just for a side note, one of the first things I came across was somebody blaming trans people for this, which is like, okay.
We can talk about how trans people are very much affected by this, because trans men do exist.
Yeah.
People with uteruses do exist.
well, they can pass. There are laws in place which could easily be interpreted that under this that are designed for the protection of children, which can apply to this. Therefore, each individual state can make it illegal for someone to leave the state with a pregnant uterus, which would mean that anyone who had a uterus would have to undergo medical testing before leaving the state and go into quarantine before they could be between the testing and when they left to make sure that they couldn't get pregnant.
Yeah, fuck the fact.
In the interim between the test and the results, which 18 hours of quarantine, and that
they could be on a stick.
Right, they have to. No, pee on a stick is a unreliable method. It takes a medical to make a definite statement. It takes a medical test
Requiring PCR pregnancy tests. Got it.
and that they could so you have to go into quarantine, and they don't even have to let you go to another state that has the same sorts of laws, because that state could change their laws, and that would mean that the potential occupant of that uterus was then not protected if that state changed their laws. So they have no reason to allow you to take that occupant of one of their citizens of their state into another state in this way where they wouldn't be protected. So they can totally restrict you. And you get to add to that when you're flying, you're subject to the laws of the state that you fly over, which means that if you flew over their state, they could have you held when the plane landed. And if you were not pregnant, you could go through the test and be released. And if you were pregnant, they could insist that you be returned to their state, where you would be held until you had delivered.
And people consistently and continually say, oh, well, this isn't fascism. Fuck you.
Right. Well, I'm just saying these are all laws that are currently, it would be subject to interpretation. It wouldn't be new laws to make this happen.
Oh, I know.
And the Supreme Court said that there was no possible circumstance which would require that this be handled on a federal level, that this have a federal standard.
Well, yeah, although on a practical level, there are certain things that won't get done. Because the amount of paperwork is a bit much for the state. And there's a lot of stuff that will be done. There's a lot of stuff that there are worst case scenarios that are not as likely, at least not right away.
The TLDR, this is only going to affect poor women because they're not going to be able to stop flights and search people. They don't have the bandwidth or the resources. They're not going to be able to stop people with a car. But for women and really all pregnant people who aren't capable of funding their way out of state, as already is the case, or needing assistance,
they have to take the bus, you know.
Yep. That is going
There's a big difference between leaving in the limo and leaving in a bus, and there's an even bigger difference between leaving in a bus and leaving in a cigarette boat. You can get out of Texas if you can rent a cigarette boat and have it take you to Florida. I mean, it's...
Well, yeah, but that's still money. That's a lot of money.
That's a fire.
Yeah, that's money. That's what
it's. Well, you know, Astra made a great point that, you know,
they're not going to stop traffic during rush hour to get the Indiana to Chicago commuters who commute every day to check and see if there's a woman in the car, check and see if she's pregnant, and then be like, hey, you got to wait 3 days before going into work.
Right. You know, and Astra made a good point also in that, you know, it's not going to be rich white women who are bothered by this law, even if they're quote unquote liberal, whatever. It's not going to be them because they can always go on vacation or whatever, you know, whatever the euphemisms were in the 50s. Okay. And I also want to make a point because it was brought up to me by a friend of mine. I have a friend of mine who expatted in Mexico. She's black. Her husband was white. He died in a car accident a couple years ago. Really good friend of mine. I absolutely love her to death. And we were talking about this issue, and she said, I'm going to quote her here. You know, I feel for the white women devastated by the ruling. When it was black people being fucked over, their response was kind of lackluster. Abortion has always been difficult, if not impossible, for most black women, so nothing really changes for us. So unfortunately, I can't really work up a whole lot of sympathy for women who, when push came to shove, chose the white patriarchy and are now outraged that it bit them in the ass. Now, that's obviously not the case for all, the hashtag not all white women. But unfortunately, it's
we could all be doing a lot more.
What's that?
If we're being honest, we could all be doing a lot more. Like I used to work, well, they never paid me. I used to volunteer for an abortion access fund. And as soon as the environment got non-ideal, I just left. Now, you could say I did my part. I gave countless hours of my time for free to this cause. You could also say that as soon as it was inconvenient and I needed to prioritize like my job and my family over it, I did just kind of walk away.
You know, and that's what makes it difficult, not only for the people who are critical of people like that, but for the people themselves, because you're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. You know, because you can't just easily say, well, screw my job. You know, I'm not worried about my job. You know, screw that, whatever. You got to pay rent or mortgage if you own. You got to buy food. You got to pay utilities. You know, and very, you know, I don't want to say very few. The amount of people who are living from paycheck to paycheck in this country. You know, look at the people who are 2 months away from being homeless, and they think they're fine. Oh, I have a good job and I pay my bills on time, whatever. Okay, so stop working tomorrow. Where are you going to be in 30 days?
Yeah. So, we've talked about the basic element. So one of the other elements that, in my opinion, is a factor here is I don't know why I can't think of words. I forgot
42.
to mention before. Pretty much everything here is probably going to involve lots of trigger warnings, and that would be too much time because this is a rough subject in general, but especially the way I'm going to phrase this. So I'll give you like 5 seconds.
Trigger warning
5,
for essay, body horror, probably emotional abuse, all kinds of abuse,
1.
and any trauma you've ever had.
I can't remember the word for when the fetus dies in the uterus.
That there are many words. The most common one is called miscarriage.
Miscarriage. That's the word I was trying to think of. Because
Stillbirth.
miscarriage is
It is
also
called
a fact.
spontaneous abortion. Medically, it's called a spontaneous abortion. Colloquially, it's called a miscarriage. However, if it's after 8 months, I think it's a stillbirth.
Yes. All of that. But like this also has potential to this law has potential to be utilized negatively with regards to miscarriages because some of the medical procedures are the same.
I'm going to make a slight correction to your point.
Sure.
I have done way too much research. You say it has the potential to. It already has.
Okay.
Like there was already a woman who was turned away from a Texas hospital with an ectopic pregnancy because they refused to treat her. There are already loads of women and other pregnant people who are being denied miscarriage care and as a result are experiencing much more severe medical complications. There are already all of these cases. It is assumed that within a year, the maternal mortality rate will go up across the board by 21%. However, it will affect marginalized communities, specifically BIPOC pregnant people, queer pregnant people, and poor pregnant people way more. Reminder that 3/4 of all abortions are received and sought by people making less than twice the poverty line. So this is far and away an issue for poor pregnant people. Like, first, because they can't access contraceptives, because they have less health insurance or live in poorer areas. Like, all of this is already happening. And frankly, miscarriages have always been criminalized in the US. Like, even while Roe v. Wade was the law of the land, like even when I made a video about abortion a couple months ago, there were like double-digit numbers of cases. It was definitely, it was dozens of cases where pregnant people who had not wanted to terminate their pregnancy miscarried and were sent to jail, not necessarily convicted, but remember, while you're awaiting trial, you still go to jail, who were sent to jail under fetal harm laws. Fetal harm laws are...
Oh, sorry. That was why I was assuming that the miscarriage thing would add up to stuff like that.
It already has.
Yeah, which I should have known, but yeah.
Go to Texas if you have an ectopic pregnancy. Texas no longer treats ectopic pregnancies. You just die. Ectopic pregnancies are usually fatal. If you have, like, it is not safe to be pregnant in Texas.
At all.
The state legislator who pushed through the anti-abortion bill that started this way, well, didn't start this, you know what I mean,
right?
He had no fucking idea what ectopic pregnancy was, and he thought it could just be surgically replanted in the...
Okay, there was I remember reading probably within the last month and a half or so this woman who was an aide for a senator in Washington, who happened to be at the time of the occurrence was on her period, and she wanted to leave a meeting, and he kept telling her, no, you gotta wait, you gotta wait, you gotta wait, you know. And finally, I don't know what language she used, but she basically let him know why she wanted to leave. And he was literally like, well, can't you just close your legs together?
Yeah.
We can talk about sex ed in America and how it's absolute garbage. Only 7 states in America require that sex ed be medically accurate. And that's just like the law. In practice, it's way worse because remember, a lot of schools don't have the funds to get a proper math teacher who like knows math. Like there's a huge shortage of math and science teachers. There's a huge shortage across the board. And having sex ed as part of a health curriculum is very hit or miss. Like I was lucky. I went to a high school that had what is comparatively excellent sex ed. When I was researching for the topic of abortions and trying to look at medical misinformation to try to combat that, I realized that I actually had been fed a lot of medical misinformation that because my sex ed class wasn't super comprehensive after like a woman gets pregnant, or they said a woman gets pregnant. Obviously, trans men can get pregnant, non-binary people can get pregnant. After a person gets pregnant, they just kind of don't really talk about it. There were some topics like they talked about what you're not supposed to eat while you're pregnant, don't drink while you're pregnant, postpartum depression was touched on. Like it was, for the most part, pretty good. However, they didn't go into detail about miscarriages. They didn't go into detail about what it means for a fetus to be incompatible with life. And I also found that a lot of the information about abortions and miscarriages is just like out there is just wrong if you look at clinic websites.
Most are garbage. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no, my sex ed was garbage. It was absolute garbage. I didn't get taught about. I got barely taught about contraception, and it was always played as, very much condoms are the level of risk with condoms was played up. It was very. It was just
even mentioned.
What?
Was gay sex even mentioned?
Oh God, no. It was 90s.
Yeah, and if it was mentioned, was it ever mentioned outside of the context of HIV transmission?
Yeah, no, it wasn't even mentioned.
I
don't think so.
In my sex ed class, we learned about gay sex one day. Gay sex only happened between 2 penis owners, which of course were men in this sex ed class. Oh yeah, we didn't learn about trans people; those didn't exist. No. Teacher. So it was always gay men, and we learned that it was only ever a vector for STD transmission, especially HIV and AIDS, and we learned that it was more risky. Gay sex was more risky for a bottom than a top. I don't think that's real.
What?
Oh yeah, they said they gave
no.
like percent transmission for bottoms and tops. And like, lesbian sex didn't exist. I learned about that in college.
Yeah, as it should be. Oddly enough, I went to art school in the late 70s and early 80s. That was my high school. So actually middle school through high school was an art school. So we learned about gay sex, but mostly in the bathroom. we did have sex ed. We had it, and the problem was the guy who was teaching it wasn't all that educated, but he was really good at looking stuff up if we had questions. He only lasted about 9 months though, which is funny.
I'm impressed that he was able to look stuff up, because in most schools, a lot of websites that offer comprehensive sex ed, especially queer sex ed, are just blocked by the school.
Oh, well, I mean, this is pre then.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd look it up on his own time.
Christy,
late 70s, early 80s,
Oh, yeah.
while the internet did exist, it was not in a form that was usable to most people.
But
the pre-internet, so on, and it was, but we had a fairly reasonable sex ed. It was comprehensive for the times, but my big complaint with it was that it was always described as being, sex is the motivation of mankind, that it inspires people to climb mountains, build buildings, and build cathedrals and all these things that sex is, and then they describe it to you and it's all transactional, and it sounds about as exciting as banking. Or assembly instructions: insert tab A in slot B. When you have completed your transaction and made your deposit, be sure and collect your receipt.
Well, I mean, that's my mood some of the days.
And you go,
were your sex
this
ed
is
teachers ace? Like, it sounds like you just had a bunch of ace sex ed teachers. Like, sure, I guess it's not as good as playing board games or eating cake, but whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That is the best way to describe sex. No,
Are invading Denmark.
But let's go on to the grimmer stuff, which is the stuff that was it was talked about in the before abortion got before Roe v. Wade got taken down, which relates to privacy, which is part of the reason why it's helpful for them to tear down the other stuff later. But like,
Emily brought up something great in the chat.
Oh,
on the privacy, that anything that you're doing to track your period is subject to investigation and subpoena, including probably anything that you're sharing with your doctor.
Well, apparently, I only get my period every year and a half, because that's when I remember to fill out the tracker. Like, you can just only fill it out once every year or so.
yes.
You get your period every year. That's normal.
Back to the grim stuff. There were 3 major laws, and I can't remember the names. I know one of them was relates to states' rights to do anti-sodomy laws and similar such laws.
Is this the Thomas concurring opinion? There were 3 cases referenced.
Yeah.
Your dictionary, because that's my function in life. The first one was Griswold v. Connecticut. That is contraceptive access. The second one is Lawrence. That's the really scary one. That's the one that says gay people die in prison. Griswold v. Connecticut says you can't ban contraceptive access, so people get to use condoms in the pill. The second one, Lawrence, says you can't ban people from having sex consensually. Consenting adults. Lawrence is very important. Fun fact, my wife was actually looking at postdocs in Michigan. Not anymore, because Michigan has a sodomy trigger law.
Yep.
If Lawrence gets overturned, as Clarence Thomas has called for it to be, that was a call to action, make no mistake. I would say there is greater than a 20% chance that all 3 of those cases get brought before the Supreme Court within the next year. And Lawrence getting overturned, I'd say, is about a 10% chance.
I would
I'm
say
optimistic
all three
about that.
have a good chance of getting overturned.
I'm saying 10% because I am the eternal optimist and I have a brand to maintain.
Currently, in
I am the
Michigan,
eternal pessimist, so
So I just
in
don't
Michigan,
get
we
to
have
visit-
a blue
yeah.
governor.
So I was really excited to like go live by some of my family and get to see them a lot, but not anymore. I'm not even allowed to visit if sodomy laws come back. So Michigan, looking at you, all the other states that have sodomy laws, I'm kind of okay not going to, but Michigan, come on, be better.
Okay, I live in Michigan, and currently we have a blue governor, lieutenant governor, obviously, and secretary of state, et cetera, et cetera. However, you know, so a lot of that depends upon, again, individual, you know, in just as far as Michigan is concerned. Okay, a lot of that, you know, all of it. Well, actually, for each individual,
AGs can be replaced.
well, yeah. Depends upon the election in the fall.
Yeah. Speaking of elections in the fall, if you were
wait, you were going to get to the third case.
Well, I guess
Sorry. Sorry, you're going to get to the third case.
So the third case is the most famous one, Obergefell versus Hodges. That is gay marriage. So
yeah,
a lot of marriages are likely going to be invalidated. I think it'll take longer because our culture has actually shifted a lot when it comes to cis gays. I mean, trans people are still getting very unalived a lot.
Yay! Well, no, I'm white, so I'm not gonna get unalived. It's usually trans people of color who are getting unalived. Yeah. But yes,
I passed white, so you know.
Yeah. However, trans kids in Texas and now Alabama are still banned from taking completely reversible and commonly prescribed puberty blockers. Also, can we talk about puberty blockers for a second and the harm that it does to cis kids to not have puberty blockers available? So puberty blockers were initially, I know we shouldn't be centering cis kids, but this is why, like, the science of these people is bonkers. So puberty blockers are still most commonly used to treat precocious puberty. That's like an 8-year-old boy with a full-on beard. Like that is what it is usually used for. That's what it's still marketed for. Trans people are still a very small part of our like a small percentage of our population. Trans people who come out as kids are even smaller. And so all of these crazy fear-mongering decisions are medically stupid. Like pregnant people who miscarry can't get treatment and are more likely to die. Cis kids who have precocious puberty and don't want to like have their voice changing in elementary school, sucks to be them, I guess. We've cured this. We have a way to not do this, but because we hate women with agency and we hate trans people, sucks to.
Well, I mean, the lack of knowledge of scientific, the lack of scientific knowledge on the part of these bigots, is overwhelming, you know. And you have, like I was talking earlier before about the period, and then you have people, you know, when you explain to a lot of them that the medications in quote unquote birth control are used for other purposes, you blow their mind. They don't have a fucking clue.
You mean regulating your period and getting rid of large amounts of acne and dealing with period cramps and making sure your period is regular rather than happening every 2 weeks. Those are all very common uses of birth control among 12 to 14-year-old girls and trans AFAB people. Really? No.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's just a shock.
But see, here's another thing I think too. Okay, and don't get me wrong, I think that the decision is horrible. Okay, like I said, I'm still fucking pissed off about it. But look at what our focus has been for a lot of the media in the last 2-3 days. Okay. And what it shifted from, because it shifted from the January 6th hearings.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not
Yeah.
saying that they're completely disconnected. I'm not saying that they're 100% connected. What I'm saying is that, you know, that again, like I said, it's a horrible decision, and it's going to affect people, you know, years down the road. Okay, it's not something that's just temporary. But you know, it just pisses me off that the American public, well, both two ways at the same time, that the American public is treated as such. Plus, too much of the American public is such, where you can't have more than one fucking idea in your head at the same time.
It reminds me a lot of when Texas
Wait.
had a snowstorm. Oh, sorry.
Perfict was going to say something.
I was just going to say, this is not new. Kennedy had the Bay of Pigs, and Johnson dropped trow on a golf course to show photographers his appendix scar. Guess what was on the front page?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then you have Clinton with supposedly wagging the dog in Serbia, and just, you know.
Well, I'm just saying, no, it's the, hey, look at this.
Yeah.
Right.
Trump did it all the time.
If you want a recent
He would
example-
just say something asinine and outrageous.
Yeah,
And then
if-
the media would, you
Done
know,
something horrible.
Wait.
Oh my God.
Calm down, everybody. Astra, you were saying something.
If you want a more recent example, remember when there was a snowstorm in Texas and everyone lost power because the grid is privatized and a bunch of people died and Ted Cruz fled to Cancun? What was in the news for the next week? Trans teen girls in sports. Even though the whole trans teens girls winning all the championships, that's not actually a thing. Like, trans teen girls aren't actually as good at sports as everyone makes you believe.
Well, and in one of the states, I forget which one it was, they had 2 students in the entire state, 2 trans students who were in the sports program. But oh my God, trans kids in sports.
Yeah, again, it was a stupid culture war issue designed to distract the Bible Belt from the fact that Ted Cruz left a bunch of them to die in snow, and distract from the fact that the reason there was a snowstorm in Texas is because global warming is killing us all. We are all already dying from climate change.
Wait,
Global warming.
Back to the issue at hand. I know there's a lot of problems.
No, we can't talk about
there's so many other problems, and you know what? Maybe I'll just have to, you know, get people on again in the future. I'm definitely not begging. Anyways, but like, when it comes to this stuff, there's so much problematic stuff, and there's so much. I believe Perfict said Christo-fascist, and that also relates to white nationalism, because right after abortion, people are I can't remember which person said it about how this will help save the white children because they want more white babies.
Miller said
It's on them because most abortions are obtained by people of color.
Miller said it. Stephen Miller. What a surprise.
Yeah, and well, I mean, it doesn't matter how realistic it is. It's the fact that a lot of this stuff is just so. It's looking at things. It's a very nationalistic perspective. It's as most fascism is, because it's very much we need a powerful nation, so we need lots of soldiers to be bred and played with, and who cares what happens to them after they die.
I have a question about our soldiers. So statistically, the children that will be being born when people can't get abortions are going to be impoverished, very frequently homeless, mostly non-white, and many of them will be food insecure and or starve to death. None of that, very few of them proportionally will have health insurance or any kind of health care. And the majority will die later as a result of, well, a variety of things, but mainly poverty. Because
poverty is a good recruitment tool.
Yeah.
For the military.
But if you want like this Ubermensch, to borrow a Nazi term, actually it was
I mean, technically it was from Immanuel Kant, but then the Nazis co-opted it.
It was co-opted by the Nazis. To borrow a term that the Nazis stole, to steal it back.
And made worse, just like everything the Nazis did.
Yes. If you want that kind of army, what does adding a bunch of poor, sickly, non-white children who are homeless do? Because at least to my brain, especially if there's very easy access to guns, might not be great for maintaining order, unless of course you decide that your police force is allowed to just kill black teens for sport, which I guess we have. So I guess, they did fix the problem. Never mind the logical inconsistencies. I've solved them. They're 2 steps ahead of me. We're fine.
Well, also it's for recruitment. Sorry.
The point that I get from that, because I served 4 years in the military during the end of the Cold War, and I've always been poor. Grew up poor, born poor, always been poor. And part of the thing is that, when you have economic and socially disadvantaged youth who see the military, one of the military's big quote unquote selling points is, oh, look, you can go to college, if you survive. But when you see that as one of their big recruiting tools, a lot of people don't feel they have any choice. Okay. And so that's where a lot of the military initially gets their ranks from. And they're just cannon fodder. That's all they are.
Yeah. I was going to get to that because it's sergeant and lower. The poor people
involved, the powerful involved, don't give a shit how many people in the military die. And then, they give lip service to the troops. Jeff Sessions, Senator of Alabama, also, referred to as the evil Keebler elf, who was Donald Trump's attorney general. Okay. While he was Senator of Alabama, they had a vote come up to provide further funding to the VA. And a very large portion of that further funding was PTSD for troops coming back from Iraq, Afghanistan, etc. Okay. And he was one of 8 senators who voted against it. It still did pass, but he was one of 8 senators who voted against it. And his direct quote was, "We can't afford entitlements." So you can sure the fuck afford to send these people overseas to die, quote unquote, die for this country. You love the troops so much, but when they come back, you don't give a flying shit fuck about them.
Well, it's really inconvenient if they come back alive, because then you gotta do the VA, you got to give them health insurance. We don't do that. We actually have this really good idea. You see, Boeing agreed to sponsor it. It's where at the beginning of a sports ball game, they have some soldier guy go out and they wave and everybody claps and you play like a good America patriotism song. It's such good advertising. Boeing already paid for it. And because, all of those like clap for the troops, those are all sponsored by Boeing. I've been to a lot of sports games and it's kind of hard to feel good about America or like the troops when the wave and clap for the one troop is sponsored by part of the military industrial complex. But the nice thing is you get everybody excited, like, oh yeah, we do support the troops. I want to join the military. You make that one person feel special, and you don't have to pay for anybody's health insurance. It's so much cheaper.
Plus, also, then you have I remember during the second Obama campaign, there was a town hall, and it was no, it was the first one. Excuse me. There was a town hall with John McCain, and a guy stood up and announced that he was a Marine. Okay, and of course, he used the phrase, which is, and I have a lot of friends who are Marines. Okay, once a Marine, always a Marine. And of course, the crowd initially clapped, yay, Marine, yay. And then he revealed that he was gay. And before he said anything else, they started booing him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's essentially gets back to the anti-gay and basically the Supreme Court seems to want to do everything it can to allow whichever states want to take away I almost just want to call them privileges at this point, because
George Carlin said that flat out.
Yeah.
He has a long bit on your rights. Okay.
yes,
He said, we don't have rights in this country. We have a small group of privileges. And he said, and this was years ago, he said, if you watch the news even badly, the list gets shorter and shorter every year.
yeah, well, yes, and also he's like used Japanese internment camps as an example of how quickly your rights can be taken away.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, was that you trying to say something? Sorry.
And FDR was a progressive.
Yeah.
FDR is remembered as a progressive. And he just went...
And he was so great, and blah, 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 blah.
And we call them internment camps to avoid calling them concentration camps, but by definition, they're not they weren't death camps, but
Yeah.
they do concentrate a lot of people based on race in one spot, steal all of their property because they were given 24 hours notice. So if they had a business, sorry, you don't have a business anymore. If they had a home, sorry, it's not yours anymore. If they owned anything, if you can't fit it in a suitcase, sucks. Like that just straight up happened. And we think of FDR as a hero.
Yes, and I can go on about concentration camps, but I do want to stick a little bit to the topic.
Right.
I know there's there are plenty of immigrant concentration camp conversation that could be had about what's going on now. That's essentially the same sort of thing.
Yeah, there are still children in cages.
Yeah, and hysterectomies, I assume. Yeah, not eugenics, but anyways. Yes, eugenics. That was a joke.
Different than eugenics, right? Right.
But, so my concern with all of these things, and this is, so I am very, very pessimistic. So I assume that these things coming up are going to pass. And the thing is, I think a lot of this stuff, my mind is still in the mentality that action needs to be done. I know that sounds a bit silly since I haven't been to a protest yet since the ruling. I'm honestly trying to setting up plans to gather apartment members together so I can unionize to some degree, so I can feel a little bit safer if things go south, because this seems like, for me, and this is to some degree my emotional end of things, but like it just feels like a spiraling downward into towards an actual worst case scenario. And the thing is, I don't think it would stop with those three things. I think those three things are what's mentioned now. I think that they will keep cutting stuff away until they create their authoritarian utopia that they envisioned.
We should use the word theocracy more liberally.
Yes.
Yeah.
I should.
Because we aren't stating that what they're trying to institute is an authoritarian theocracy, but that's what it is. Like, we no longer have a separation of church and state. We frankly haven't since the 50s, when they put God we trust on our money and added under God to the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh yeah, that's a recent ad.
Yep.
But let's talk about a few positives, because I want this is getting
Okay, that's fair, because we are getting towards the last half hour. That is fair to bring up positives. I'm still probably a little bit pissed off. Go on.
So, one negative is that one thing we have learned. One thing
I thought you said positives.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh, I really was
We're
looking
gonna
forward to the
start-
positives.
I'm going to start with a negative, but then I promise we'll go into action items and positives.
Okay.
So, I guess a positive for you not going to a protest doesn't actually matter. One thing I learned growing up, as I was born in 95, so I'm only 27. I have never seen an effective protest. Like, I know the Vietnam War happened and those protests were really effective. I know the civil rights movement happened. Those protests were very effective. But because of gerrymandering and money in politics, movements like Occupy Wall Street, every single freaking climate march, the March for Our Lives, and every single march that has been related to gun violence, the Women's March after Trump was elected, and frankly, the January 6th insurrection, even none of those have been effective. The only ones that have been effective have been the George Floyd-esque protests and the Ferguson protests, and that is because those turned violent.
I would argue
they weren't that violent,
that nothing happened. Nothing has, as of yet, absolutely nothing has happened, and far too many people have forgotten about George Floyd things. There's been no police reform in Minneapolis.
There was
to my
temporary
knowledge.
police reform. They did talk about defunding the police. They didn't do it, but there was actual talk.
Yeah, they talked about it, but didn't do it. Like, if we're talking about, like, I mean, and it gets even more frustrating because you have stuff like
when I say something
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
When I say something happened, I mean they weren't counterproductive. Like, they didn't all of a sudden give teachers guns. Like, when with March for Our Lives, it somehow moved the conversation backwards because of the backlash. So protesting in our current system doesn't work because gerrymandering means that politicians pick their voters, not the other way around. And because of voter suppression, because of the concentration of liberal voters, I can talk about how, so things you can do, things that aren't protesting that actually do have an effect. As I go on, they are going to have more of an effect. So the least effective thing you can do that will have a tiny, tiny impact is vote. If you are in the Chicagoland area, there's a very fancy Girl, I Guess guide written by a lovely progressive trans woman who works for a bunch of action organizations and will pretty much give you the most progressive candidates that actually have a chance of winning. So every locale has something like that. Look up yours. You can save yourself a lot of time and research and vote more effectively. And you can vote as a block, as a progressive block. More important than that is call your representatives. You can use this organization called ResistBot, where you can send it a text. It will print out. And hand deliver your letter or your signature to your representative. You can get it all set up so it knows who your representatives are. And unlike emails that all go to spam, unlike phone calls that usually don't get answered or don't get talked about, letters are things that actually get read and actually get tallied. You can also personalize it so it doesn't go immediately into the, oh, that's a mass campaign, put it with the others. We'll just count how many were sent in. So that's something, so contacting your representative is something that does actually work. In Michigan, especially, contact your representatives in Michigan, because I really think that Michigan can pass abortion protections. I really think they can strike the sodomy laws from the books. Frankly, if Oregon can do it, Michigan can do it, like, come on. So yeah, Erin, I'm sorry, I'm just giving you an assignment. You and everyone else in Michigan. I'd like to come to football games. I love hanging out in Ann Arbor. My mom went to Michigan for undergrad, and we love all of
I've
the
been in Ann
sports.
Arbor many times. You need to come into Midwestern Michigan with WCMU and all the lakes up here and the snow belts during the winter. And
Yeah, unless I'm seeing family, I'm not setting foot in Michigan. Like, it's just, yeah.
no, I agree 100%.
Sorry.
Well, just like my daughter lives in Oklahoma and she hates it there, but
Your daughter needs to get out of Oklahoma.
in love with her husband. They have 4 kids, and he doesn't want to leave his family. So
Can they put the family in a car?
I wish.
I'm just
No,
saying.
well, and also, because her husband is 100% Kiowa, so there's a lot of cultural background there that he wouldn't have anywhere else. So I can understand that.
Yeah, just on the action, protest works in I don't want to use the word targeted, but in local matters much
That's
better.
true. That's true. You're right.
Well,
There was a trans protest which changed a lot of things around here. And I live in Buffalo, New York, so I mean, come on, it's left. We're left. I mean, it's my U.S. representative is Higgins, who seems to be a bench warmer if you're not paying attention, but he's very left and won by 3 votes the first time. Just saying.
Yeah, although with protests, I'm usually of the opinion that often the threat of violence, the threat of things potentially getting worse, which is what I think caused the George Floyd stuff to get any positive attention, was the threat of things getting worse.
Yeah.
But anyways, you were saying you brought up 2.
I just want to throw one more thing onto the fire. The last show I did before quarantine was Punks for Planned Parenthood. So that was, I mean, it didn't go off because we were just about to go into quarantine 2 days later, but we played the show and they recorded it. It's nice, but things like that, volunteering is.
It's actually a really good segue into my third.
Yeah, I was guessing it. It seemed like how you were going, so I wanted to throw in.
The most effective thing you can do, and it sucks because it's also the hardest, is donate your money, your time and labor to local organizations. Planned Parenthood also works, but with this issue specifically, there are loads of local abortion access funds. Every time something about abortion happens in the news, everybody freaks out and they're like, okay, we need a secret underground system. We need to do Jane, but again. And it's like, okay, but so for those of you who are not Chicago history nerds, Jane was an underground organization that provided more than 100 abortions a week to women. They all got arrested in 1970. It was either 2 or 3, but it was like 3 months before Roe v. Wade came down. So they all like were awaiting trial, and the criminal defense attorney was like, okay, we're just going to delay this until Roe comes out and then it'll be null. But so Jane didn't go away. Abortion access funds already exist everywhere. You can find your local one by going to nnafnaf.org. It has a nice little list. So if you want to volunteer to drive someone, if you want to host someone, if you want to just help out with fundraising, if you have money to throw at it, that's great. Do you know how expensive abortions and travel are? So on the ground resisting is the biggest thing you can do. Giving money to advocacy organizations. If you have skills like legal skills, medical skills, doctors and lawyers donating their time, very much appreciated. And that
I can't. I was going to be like, I've got no money, I've got no medical or lawyer experience, I've got no.
You have time.
Possibly. Depends. I am jumping through hoops to deal with transition stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Self-care is important. You don't have to be on every issue. You talked about wanting to unionize your apartment complex and rent strike. Sorry, maybe I added the rent strike thing. I just think it's a good idea.
Well, I mean, rent strike might not, well, like that might be a long-term thing, but short-term is just to get people together so people can have conversations, because I don't know, and then the union idea is brought up later, but more so get people to know each other. And my anger has outweighed my fear with regards to that, because with long-term stuff, a lot of community-related organizing is important for just getting any sort of change in terms of left-wing policies, whether that's... Because I think the Republican Party has done a lot of their stuff through community stuff like churches and stuff like that for a long period of time. And you know, even if it's small, do what you can. But yeah, self-care is always.
I also think there's a benefit when you talk about getting together with other people. I think there's a benefit that you have not just a camaraderie and not just a sense of community, but you learn stuff from other people. You know, you go to a meeting about topic X and you find out, wait a minute, I can do this, or I can do this or this, but it would be more effective to do that. Okay. So you end up learning the stuff from other people. And the last real quick point I want to make to Astra, talking about Michigan. Yay. I love it's my home state, and I love my home state, and I fucking hate it. But anyway,
I love Michigan so much. Like half of my family is
right.
Like in Michigan.
Okay, I live about an hour north of Grand Rapids. Okay, and that's another Michiganderism too. You know, we don't measure in miles, we measure in time. Okay. So I live about an hour north.
I'm from the Midwest. That's not just a Michigan thing.
Right.
That's
and in Grand Haven, which is on the north side of Grand Rapids, in March, they had a GOP primary. Okay. And the guy won the GOP primary. You know, standard stuff, right? His name was Robert Regan. Except that, and people knew this ahead of time. It wasn't a surprise. Well, he won the GOP primary. He was in jail for murdering his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, when I mentioned that, have said, oh, well, you know, they try to excuse it. Well, the GOP can't be bullshit. The party could have dumped him anytime they wanted. They just did not want to. Because his opponent who won, okay, Democratic opponent who won, used this also in why wouldn't you, as part of another tactic against him. But they didn't delete him. I guess that's the way to put it. They didn't remove him from nomination. He removed himself. He resigned from the position, you know, the attempt or whatever. Okay. But that was only after a couple of weeks after he went to jail for murdering his wife.
Murdering your wife, not a deal breaker on the Republican ticket.
So, we have on the one hand in Michigan, we have a sort of a I don't want to say necessarily that it's queer and marginalized friendly all over, but there's a lot of places that it is. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And then on the other hand, we have, I've said this before, talking to Christy, I've said this before. There's a reason we're called the South of the North.
I actually use that to refer to Wisconsin too.
And a lot of people go, oh, well, they're big. All the bigots are down south. No. They still have them up here. They just look back over their shoulder before they say anything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was born in Wisconsin. I live in Minnesota. I have this strangely left-wing Wisconsin family. But also Wisconsin is
also Scott Walker.
Well, I was gonna say Wisconsin's the place that my sister saw someone with a swastika tattoo, but yeah, Scott Walker's also
Paul Ryan.
But
my wife was born and raised in Wisconsin, and we've been many, many times to see family. And obviously, Madison is amazing. Milwaukee's amazing. There's Door County is amazing. Michigan and Wisconsin are both beautiful, beautiful states full of amazing people and wonderful union history in Michigan, wonderful protest and organizing history in Wisconsin. And
there's been some good disability rights organization in Wisconsin.
Same for Minnesota. I lived in Minnesota for 4 years.
I live probably I think I looked this up once. I think currently I live I don't know 10 or 15 miles from where George Floyd was killed. So
the one of the things that with the abortion here, speaking of the local, because the doctor was assassinated several years ago.
Killer.
With 6 blocks from where I'm sitting right now.
Sorry, sorry, go on.
The the funny part is that the clinics here were on the verge of closing, and that absolutely didn't happen, and they're all refurbished and nice here. It basically, for lack of a better term, backfired on them. I don't know. I thought it worth mentioning, but I didn't have a good point here.
Yes,
I would really, I fantasize that this will be the last straw, and that the populace, since it's 76% of the American populace think that you should have guaranteed access to medical abortions.
But Susan,
now there's
lied to.
So we're talking about an unpopular law. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And in no state, no matter how red, does it rise to 50%. Okay.
The difficulty is that you have states like Texas where the gerrymandering is so bad that it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the popularity is.
We also have to talk about.
Well, that's people having worked out a way to game the political system in order to thwart the will of the people. But the people can rise up and say, yeah, we're tired of being thwarted, and we'd like to get some of that fixed right now. And it would be very effective. But but that's a fantasy that people are going to rise up and say.
Talk about single issue voting and all that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, this is why you need to do what little you can to do with community organizing, because stuff doesn't happen unless people organize, and people need to organize together, even in small bits, because you make a network, and your network has other networks, and that information can spread out. You need to get, like, ideally 8 to 10 people, get a nice group of people together for a common cause, and see how far that cause can spread in terms of just general helpfulness for community action. And people can be pissed. A lot of people are pissed off and don't know what to do because a lot of people are alone. They're taught that, you know, there's that there essentially a lot of people feel like they can't do anything. And the thing is, this is the best point in time to reach out for a common cause, because, like Perfict said, most people are for abortion access, and because of that, you can link into it's a way to link into a common goal, and with that you can make groups. This is the time to just gather a small number of people, whoever's closest. The reason I wanted to do apartment stuff. I need to write letters, tape them to doors or whatnot. Just try to get like a weekend thing every, like, near the end of the month or something. But like, or at the start of the month would actually be better. That way I make sure to do it. But that's because that's what I can do. And you can find, even if it feels like very little, getting connections, getting people together, and when people listen to each other and know who their friends are, and people they care about who are right there, it's harder to ignore that. And with that will help motivate more action.
Also, a thing you can do that doesn't require much work but is very effective. I realize that we've been talking about all things that require a lot of energy, and I know that that's a thing people have in short supply right now.
Yeah.
And has caused kind of a nationwide burnout. Educate yourself and answer questions for people around you when you hear misinformation. Call it out just in social circles. So, for example, I'm going to show my own video, but watch my abortion video, learn everything you can about miscarriages. You have people in your life, because everybody does, who consider themselves pro-life, but also had children through IVF, and explain to them that an abortion ban in many states is also an IVF ban. You can talk to them about how miscarriage care and abortion care are very similar and how banning one leads to banning the other. You can talk about how 91.6% of all abortions are 2 pills, taken 2 days apart, no hospitals needed. So when people wonder, oh, well, why is everybody freaking out that we just need like abortion clinics to follow safety surgical procedures? That's why. It's because you don't need hallways yay big to give someone a pill. Educate yourself, educate others. You might run into a pregnant person who is scared, who lives in a trigger law state, like say, Erin. If you meet someone who's pregnant and is scared, tell them to go to aidaccess.org, where they can be connected to a telehealth provider and get abortion pills in the mail. Like, abortion bans, because most of them are through pills, until you're at least 10 weeks along, it can sometimes go up to 12 weeks, but it really depends on the situation. Usually the cutoff is 10 weeks to get the pills. If you're early on in your pregnancy and you live in a state where abortion is now illegal and you don't want to be pregnant, you can go to aidaccess.org, get 2 pills. You're going to have the worst period of your life probably, but that's it. Like, it will be okay. Like, they haven't figured out how to shut that shit down yet. So tell everyone you know, because no one's going to tell you that they're pregnant and don't want to be. But if you casually mention to everyone that you can get abortion pills in the mail, that might be helpful.
Astra, before I forget, I need, can you send, after we're done having this conversation or whatnot, after the show ends, can you send me some links so I can put them at the bottom of the episode so people can have access to some of these resources? Because
yes,
I just
paid access in the chat, and I'm gonna grab NNAF right now. Those are the two biggest ones.
Okay. And what was the was the second one the not telemarketer, but like the
Yeah. So if you are pregnant and don't want to be and live in a state where it's illegal, aidaccess.org. If you might become pregnant, aidaccess.org. If you know someone who might become pregnant, aidaccess.org.
Well, no, I meant the thing that creates the letters for community access.
ResistBot. Let me grab that one. ResistBot. NNAF is to donate to your local abortion fund.
Thank you.
ResistBot is, it's actually, here, I'll put the link, but just there's a number that you can text resist to, and it'll sign you up. And
I'm gonna copy this, and I'm also gonna put it in live chat so people can copy if they're interested at the moment, just because.
And just so for Astra's point earlier about getting stuff online, especially for trans people, more so than any other demographic in America. And it obviously it varies with individual from individual to individual, but we already know not the individual sites maybe, but the types of things that you have to do to get medications online that you can't normally get elsewhere. There are all sorts of pharmacies. And I want to briefly plug one. I don't care very much as a person, but Mark Cuban, owner of the Dallas Mavericks, started a pharmacy, online pharmacy called costplusdrugs.com. My medications with the insurance I had when I was working run about $150 to $200 a month. Without insurance, it's like $480. 5 medications, heart meds, HRT, whatever. With this particular pharmacy, $35 a month. Insurance doesn't pay for it, but out of pocket, it's $35 a month. Holy shit. So you know, and it's like, I don't know if it's overseas, accessible from overseas, but any state in the union can order from this pharmacy. You have to have a prescription, whatever. You can't just go, oh, I need that med. But any state in the union can order from this pharmacy, and either get it or save a lot of money. There are some pharmacies or some people in some states where their doctor might prescribe it. It might be legal, but you go to pharmacy X and they won't give it to you because it's against my, religious or ethical. Fuck you. But so anyway, you can bypass all that bullshit. And there's a lot of other avenues as well. So I just wanted to make that point.
Yes. And we are, it feels like we're moving towards an endpoint. What is everyone's final thoughts? Let's start with Christy, because you have not been talking much, so.
Sorry, I'm still. I didn't
mean that in a mean way. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I tried today. I'm doing. I'd rather people who more affected than I am, which is speak. I've lost the visual. Oh, okay. my final thoughts is everybody thinks there's nothing you can do about it, or they think things that you can do are that. One of the things that upsets me, and it's everywhere, is just the awareness is 99% of the problem. I have one person in my house that didn't even know that this happened. And
Oh,
so
They not in the internet or watch TV.
no one called them in the middle of the workday?
well, there's only one person here who's capable of getting pregnant, but the it's awareness and never doing it can't happen here is the biggest thing I always say. And don't vote human. I had when the 2020 elections was coming up, I obviously made a bit of a stink, as a trans person, for God's sakes, if nothing else. And at least one person says, well, I'm voting for Trump because my retirement fund is up. Like, well, first of all, no, it's not, but inflation and stuff. But it's like, no, you I actually cut off all access to that person. I just said, if you can do that, then. And I am very, very, very much against the idea that you can't talk politics or religion. That's somehow gauche, because screw it. Everything is political. Everything, and it's important to actually have the conversations. But
Not going to get a lot of pushback here.
no, I know.
Conversations are important. That's what I mean. Everybody here is going to go, yeah, well, conversations are important.
I know.
Well, it still needs to be said.
It needs to.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's. I may not. I may not be in full clarity as I normally am, but there we go. Those are the two things. It's be
Perfect.
active.
Oh, sorry.
Be active. Be an example.
Perfect. What are your final thoughts?
The bell tolls for you. Seriously, if you are a Christo-fascist and sitting in your enclave and saying, well, I don't need to worry about this, you're not the right kind of Christo-fascist. They will be coming for you. This is going to be a regime change. This is a sea change. It is a change in how America will govern. And it needs to be resisted. And you're right that everybody, you need to find a way to play your part. However small a part you can make yourself that small part.
Okay. Is that it?
Yeah.
Astra, what are your final thoughts?
So I'm going to encourage everyone to think about what I said about miscarriages, about IVF, about children with precocious puberty, all of these quote unquote unintended consequences. Let me be very clear, they are not unintended. They are fully part of the plan. When you completely erase queer people from your worldview, when you believe that the only people worth thinking about are heterosexual, white, wealthy. Of course, when you view women as only valuable as wives, as mothers, when you view women as only people with uteruses, a woman struggling with infertility and wanting to have a kid through IVF, well, she's defective. She needs to be punished. Obviously, it's a moral failing that God is punishing her for. A woman that's miscarrying. There's so much medical misinformation about miscarriages. By the way, stress, working, sex, none of those cause miscarriages. 80% plus of miscarriages are just like random DNA copying errors. So unless you work in like a nuclear power plant and are surrounded by radiation because you're working in like the inner chamber, no.
Can I have one quick point in there? How else are you going to have Beast as a kid? Because in the X-Men universe, that is the reason why Beast is a mutant. Because their one of the parents worked in nuclear power plant. Yeah. Anyways.
So unfortunately for all of our headcanons, I'm doing an evolution video next because I decided that after abortion, I just want to focus on puppies. Unfortunately, the vast majority of DNA mutations caused by radiation or really anything are just cancer, birth defects, and just bad news. Yeah. The vast majority are bad news, but miscarriages, of course, the woman's being punished by God for some sin. Child with precocious puberty, great, can have kids earlier, love it. Oh, this 8-year-old girl, she became a woman, now we can marry her off to Warren Jeffs. Like, these people do not view anyone other than a rich, cis, white, straight man as human. Specifically Christian, specifically they're Christian. Like, they're coming for the Catholics, don't you worry. But you can reach moderates. Like, if you have a family member who considers themselves pro-life because they really haven't thought about it and they've bought all of this propaganda about killing babies, about the unborn, as if we give a shit about children. Like, come on, there are 2.5 million unhoused children. Like, we don't give a shit about them. Loads of children are food insecure. And like, I remember in college, I did a huge fundraiser for I didn't run the fundraiser. I participated in the fundraiser for Blessings in a Backpack, which is an organization that shouldn't need to exist. It's literally just providing meals for weekends, because a lot of kids don't eat on the weekends because they can only get free lunches in school. That organization, amazing work. They should not need to exist. Like, we should take care of our children, but we don't. So protecting the unborn, no, it's not about that. It is about controlling women. It is about controlling queer people. It is about if a young girl is raped by her father, her having to carry that baby to term. It is about women whose fetuses are incompatible with life and who might kill them in childbirth, because childbirth is incredibly risky. Like, the maternal mortality rate is very high, especially in the US. It is about forcing that woman to undergo something medically disastrous and emotionally devastating for no reason, because the fetus is already dead or has a heart outside of their body or does not have lungs or something crazy like that. It is about control. It is about the less you can plan for your life, the more hopeless you become. Because when the birth control pill first came out, there was a dramatic spike in women going to college, because now they didn't think that the only thing that would happen would be getting pregnant and having to drop out. They felt like they had control. It is about taking away that control. And once you bring up stuff like IVF, miscarriages, all of the other things, the moderates do tend to see your side of things. If you bring up IVF or miscarriages and they still disagree with you, that person is a fascist, just cut them out of your life. But bring that shit up with people. Get them angry, get them scared, because too many people are complacent. And, you know, I want to have kids one day, so I need IVF to stay legal. Very selfish of me, I know.
Erin, your final thoughts.
Hey, I'm going to try to be shorter than Astra. And, I mean, Astra may not know me very well, but the rest of you know me well enough to know that's going to be difficult. So what I have to do.
You're the tallest person here.
Huh?
You're the tallest person here.
Yeah, bite me, bitch. What I have to do, because I have ADHD and squirrel, is while you're talking, okay, I had like a couple of points I wanted to make, and then while everybody else is talking, I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta go. Oh, so then I like underline some that I'm not gonna do, because otherwise we'll be here for another hour. Okay. So I'm just gonna go down my list here, okay, because otherwise I'll be here forever. When Christy mentioned about can't talk about politics, fuck that. Okay, my entire existence is politics. My entire existence is political. Okay, and when somebody says, regardless of the topic, when somebody says I'm not political, that is a direct translation from I'm privileged. It doesn't affect me. So number one, fuck you. Number two, poor Christy barely got a word in edgewise. Okay. And I understand, she's been kind of, under the weather and whatever, and that's cool, whatever, and I try, because I've had this mentioned on my show before. I try not to talk over other people, because I have not only ADHD, but I'm also bipolar. So, when I hear a thought in my head, I have to get it out, and I don't have a filter, that says don't say X, Y, and Z. So, going to the next point, because otherwise I'd be forever. Only two more points. I'm not pro-Democrat and I'm not pro-centrist, but both parties are not the fucking same. Okay. Now they may have to use some of the same methods to get elected. Money. Okay. Nobody in this country is going to get elected without money, period. Okay. Political poll, networking, etc. Okay. That's all of our political system, but they are not the fucking same. Even the centrists, which I don't like, are not the fucking same. Okay, in much as I, because I have backup. We're not going to get into it deeply, but Hillary Clinton can fuck off with her turf bullshit. Okay, but having said that, if Clinton had won the election, we would not be going through this bullshit right now. Period. Even if Biden had won or whatever, okay, we would not be going through this shit. We would not have had Amy fucking Coney fucking Barrett. We would not have had the other fucking assholes there, okay? And let me get real quick into it, okay? Because Ruth Bader Ginsburg was not the saint that a lot of people fucking think she was, all right? Because she could have retired when the Democrats had enough power to put another quote-unquote liberal, even though they're centrist right, but another liberal into the SCOTUS position, okay, but she didn't
put all of that on Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Huh?
We can't put all of it on.
I'm not putting it all on there. I'm not putting it all on there.
3 seats.
But I'm just saying she could have done that. She chose not to do so. Number one. Number two, her track record insofar as indigenous people sucks ass.
Oh, that's fair. That's a fair
period.
Question.
Okay. So I'm not saying she's horrible. She probably 90 to 95% of what I know of her, her record and whatever, I think she should be lauded for. Okay, nobody's perfect, except me. But anyway, so yeah, they're
no,
not the
perfect's the only one who's perfect. Sorry, it's
hey,
yeah.
Well, that's true. I'm a perfect asshole. I have no hemorrhoids. And the last thing is, do what you can, right? Vote, bitch online. I don't care what it is. Try to, like what you were talking about before. Try to get together with a community, whether it's online or, although in person really helps too. Okay. But whether it's online or however you want to do it, you may not have the spoons to go okay, we're going to meet every week and whatever. I'm going to run this stuff. Okay. But support people who do. When you have shows like The Fluid Voice, and I didn't even know about your show, Astra, but I'm going to sub now.
Yeah, links below.
Okay, cool. When you have shows like that, support them. And it doesn't, and it's nice if you do it monetarily, don't get me wrong, but, you know, support them, promote them, share them with other people, and show, you know, there's a French phrase, pour encourager les autres. I don't argue with fascists online. I debate them, but I don't argue with them. And there's a difference. Okay. I know I'm not going to change their attitude. I know I'm not going to change their mind, flat out. Okay. But there are some people who are listening or reading, okay, who might go, you know, maybe Erin's got a couple good points. Let me check further into that. Okay. There are also some people, let's say it's a queer topic, whatever it is, okay, who may be closeted and who are listening, you know, or somebody's making some racist bullshit statement, okay, and I speak up, because what that lets that person know is not everybody is okay with that bigotry. And they may not feel comfortable, if in case of, you know, being queer, they may not feel comfortable coming out line or whatever, but at least they know they're not alone. And that's my thoughts.
And I have two thoughts, and then we'll get into your promotion the other way around than I did it here. But I can't words. So my attitude towards the Democrats is the Democrats would watch me die, and my attitude towards the Republicans, and the Republicans are actively trying to kill me. And I would rather not have the people actively trying to kill me in power versus the people who would watch me die, because those are two very different things. I'll probably also link Bob of the Fifth Column has a really good video about how to community organize. It's not going to be helpful for everyone, but I'll put that down below once I look that up and add it to stuff, just because. Yeah, do what you can. Yeah, do what you can, learn what you can, and just try to speak out, because speaking out is also vitally important. Starting with you now, Erin, where can people find you?
In the local dump. Well, as far as online presence, I have a bunch. Of course, you know, I'm on Facebook, my own personal page. I have two shows. One is called The Geriatric Grouch. That is a Twitter account and also my YouTube channel. It's a talk show that sometimes I do interviews. Sometimes I just get on there and rant for 3 or 4 hours by myself, because I can easily do that. Mostly queer issues, marginalized people issues, but occasionally I'll just do like general tax thing or whatever. Although that's rare. I have a gaming channel on Twitch called Funky Games. Funky_GAMEZ. Again, very queer, positive, but I generally don't do politics on there. And I mostly stream MMORPGs, like I did Lost Ark for a while. Now I'm currently in the Final Fantasy 14 and Grim Dawn and a few others. I also have on both of those I have I don't need to get the exact links, but there's like, you know, there's a tip jar that they have on Twitch. I have merchandise that I sell for both channels. I write and sell books online. I'm on Amazon as Erin Greene, Greene. And I write, people ask me what I write. I write everything. I write steampunk, fantasy, science fiction, horror, humor, poetry, post-apocalyptic nuclear fiction. I write everything. And I'm currently working on a song. It's called Abortion Won't Die, which is the parody of the song from song American Pie. And once I get it done, I'm going to send it to Christy and have her perform it. When and if she has the spoons. And I'm done.
Okay, Astra, where can people find you?
Hi, please find me at Bad Astra on YouTube. We are a small, all queer team bringing you science with more costume changes than math. So if you want things like the history of the universe as a D&D campaign, we've got that video. We also do every 6 months is about when I can handle doing more topical science videos. We have one about nuclear energy and why it's good, actually. We have one about vaccines, how they work, and why you should definitely get vaccinated. Seriously, though, do it. We have one all about fat phobia that I spent like 5 months on because I got really obsessed with it after a very long argument with my father. And we recently just came out with a 90-minute video all about abortion that covered everything I talked about in this video and like 90 minutes more worth of content. We have a video coming out soon that's going to be much more fun than a dominatrix explaining why abortions are good, actually. But that one is going to be all about evolution, starring, hold on. Hey, Boobaloo.
Here it comes.
Little angel. She will be playing 3 characters. She will be playing a old professor, a young professor, and a creationist. So
Multi-talented.
What?
Multi-talented.
Yes, she is an incredible actress, and I got her to wear glasses twice. So it's going to be a really, really fun video. Her Gwen Shamblin impersonation, which is what we based the creationist voice off of, was apparently so good that I had to do a bunch of retakes because my wife wouldn't stop laughing. So come check out our channel. We're also small enough that if you leave a comment asking a science question, I will respond. So if you have any further questions about abortion, legal questions, if I don't know them and they're science related and I think I can Google them, I will Google them for you. If you just want me to Google stuff for you, I will do that. That is basically my role on this internet and in life with all my friends.
As a fan, I should say you should be much more subscribed. Like, amazing stuff. So
Yeah. Please.
I'm subscribed.
I just subbed to her. And one question before you go on: do you do anything on physics or cosmology?
That's most of what I do. So my wife is an astrophysicist. I got my undergraduate degree in physics with concentrations in astronomy and nanomaterials. So our first video ever was all about the life cycle of a star. We have a 3-part series all about black holes, where I talk about their theory, observations of black holes. Cosmological Crit is the history of the universe as a D&D campaign. If you want a cosmology musical, my wife and I wrote a 10-minute song. Look up CMB Photon the musical. It is the history of the universe as told by a photon from the cosmic microwave background. And it was voiced by my amazing friend Shay, who is a phenomenal singer.
I've been a physics geek for 40 years.
Wait, I was going to ask the most important question. You say the creation of the whole Earth thing as a D&D campaign. Which edition of D&D?
It's a homebrew.
Oh, okay.
And that is discussed. There's a lot of thought. There's a Thaco joke that I hope somebody laughs at.
Oh my god. Okay, so I need to watch that because I know what you're. I used to have a 2nd edition D&D book and good old hit Armor Class 0.
Yeah.
Because of course they had to make that so complicated.
Oh yeah,
it wasn't complicated. It was easy.
D&D is good, but GURPS, GURPS, we will take over you, and we will do every single. I run Wild West and Vampire the Masquerade and Star Trek and Immortals and Champions and whatever, all in GURPS.
Yeah. But this video, it's we don't focus on the game mechanics as much because it's a video about science. but we have 4 characters and like a 5th surprise character, but we have 4 characters. There's Astra, that's me, the DM. Then there's Space, Quark, and Photon. Quark is all matter in the universe, not just dark matter, because our dark matter player called in sick. Photon, that's just all radiation. And
well, I mean, to be fair, the dark matter player's acting was flat.
Oh, nice.
we do have a joke where the joke is that he calls it is like, I'm out of state and also I don't want to. He literally just like he didn't have time to film his bit. So we kicked him out of the D&D group, apparently. But he had like a little call-in cameo.
I just realized as I checked it that I'm one of those idiots who watches the stuff but hasn't subscribed, which I've now fixed.
Please subscribe. We are desperately trying to get monetized. We have enough subscribers to be monetized, but we are not close on the watch hours. I have a very, very, like, because of the content we do, it takes a lot of research to put out anything, because everything has to be like quadruple fact checked, and I am really bad at speaking off the cuff usually. I did a lot of research for this live stream.
Let me let you know that I have 13 playlists booked. Yeah, I have 13 playlists bookmarked that are just physics and cosmology and black hole documentaries. So I will be going down the rabbit hole on your channel.
Yeah,
all that shit's going to be new, and I'm going to go, oh my god. Yeah, so I'm never going to be watching.
Yeah, you might really enjoy the special and general relativity videos, because those also talk about black holes. Science Tommy actually falls into a black hole in one of the videos. He slips on a space banana, and we talk about time dilation
and entanglement and just Schrodinger and Anyway,
Perfict. Where can people find you?
Well, my social media presence is, while not as broad as everybody else, it's of quality. And so there's here, and I also on the Discord, and if you send me a
not just this Discord, but the Rumpus Room.
The Rumpus Room. Either one, you can find me there. If you send an put up an I will show up. Yeah, I will respond.
And sorry, that was everywhere. You are Astra, right? I know we had tangented.
Right.
What? You're muted.
I'm also on Instagram. I'm also on Patreon. Honestly, if you follow like my personal Instagram or Cece's Instagram, I won't be mad. But find me at my only other social media presence is Patreon, we're going to say. But yeah, I am on, look up Bad Astra on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It'll be like bad_Astra, Bad Astra channel, that kind of thing. But you'll see the logo and you'll know. Also, if you do a modicum of sleuthing, you will be able to find my personal Instagram and Cece's personal Instagram. I'm very much an open book. Feel free to like follow me on those. If you follow me on Facebook, I'll accept the friend request, but you will be disappointed because I'm barely on there.
I do have a positive bit of news before we finish this up. Okay.
Well, before we get to Christy.
Right. A friend of mine sent this to another page that I belong to. So all I'm going to do is read the headline. That's all we need to do. Rudy Giuliani was slapped in a Staten Island grocery store while campaigning for his son today. Next.
Okay, that was funny. Christy, where can people find you?
Apparently in a grocery store slapping Giuliani. Sorry.
There's nothing to apologize for there.
Most of the time you can find me on Twitter arguing with trans folks. It's a
living. I wish it was.
No, and my writing's my living, but you know, the I haven't really been active doing anything else. I'm still vaguely working on stuff, so I'm not ready to announce anything yet.
Yeah, and you're still getting better.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I had
arguing with transphobes is a Sisyphean,
yes,
Sisyphean feat.
Sisyphean with a C. The although yeah, I'm starting to work on a new nonfiction piece, so that's
Cool.
It's been interesting. I accidentally started doing research. I went down a rabbit hole that I went, oh wait, I have a note in my book that I wanted to do this research years ago. I didn't have access to the research. I wanted to do this research years ago and write about it. And now I'm just doing it I was doing it for funsies. I said, why don't I write about it? So I'm doing it. That's the thing. I don't do much nonfiction, so.
Yeah, and obviously you can get the tarot cards.
Oh yeah, the tarot cards, yeah. Wonderland Tarot is still available
Cool.
and still selling bizarrely well. I still have trouble believing that after 25 years.
It's
Wait,
yeah. I
30
probably would feel the same way about anything I do.
Came out in 88, so 34 years.
I have a Celtic deck and a steampunk deck.
And you're buying the Wonderland Tarot, right?
Is that it?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook if you're looking. You can find me. You can find me on YouTube if you're looking. I exist in some form.
You can find me on this show and in several places. My YouTube is largely gaming clips and probably gonna be me ranting about political stuff. I do kind of whatever I want to. You can find me. Ozma In The Dark is how you can find me. You can find me with that on Twitter. You can find me with that because I change things around, so my more popular Twitter account is Ozma In The Dark. You can find me on Instagram, where I occasionally post reels. You can find me technically on TikTok, where I occasionally post weird stuff. You can find me. You can't find. Well, I mean, technically, you could find Ozma In The Dark on Facebook. Unfortunately, I don't think I've logged into that Facebook account in a couple years, so you're going to be gravely disappointed. And I am not sharing my personal Facebook, even though I use it sometimes to get guests, if I have to. But what else? I'm gonna be restructuring some of my Twitch streaming. Oh yeah, you can find me on Twitch. I'm probably gonna try to add more silly stuff. Rainbow Shelter News will be going up. It was a bit of a break because I was taking care of cats at my parents' place. So, I don't know, tomorrow I'll probably be talking more about the Supreme Court stuff. Or something related to it. And I think that's all I can think about. It's been a long day. So everyone, your voice matters, your life matters, and you matter. And take care of yourselves and do what you can.
Live long
Bye,
and prosper, dude.
Bye, everybody.
Peace out.
Bye.
Peace.